Hello everyone, welcome to Come Sit at My Table. We're Tom and Melissa, and we're really happy that you're here to sit at our table today. First, I would like to take this opportunity to say to you, Happy Easter from Melissa and me. This video will be posted on Easter Sunday, and we certainly do wish you and your family a happy Easter. Today is Sunday, and we are going to continue our series of Subscriber Sundays. Today is number 4 in our series, and today's recipe comes from Donna Banks in Mount Clemens, Michigan. Now, Donna sent in a really nice letter with her recipe, and I just want to read part of it to you. It says, I have a very special recipe I'd like to share with you. It's special because my mother used to be known in her circle for this cake. She later taught me how to make it, and everyone I have ever made it for really loved it. I've searched for it on YouTube as well as the internet, but have not found anything like it. You are the ones I want to share it with because after watching so many of your videos, I feel like I kind of know your style and taste. I'm going to take that as a huge compliment. I think you'll both really love this cake. It's called champagne cake. I don't know why. It doesn't have any champagne in it. I suppose it's because it's a bit indulgent. It's a great cake for special occasions or for your family. I have found it's not so great for picnics or outdoor functions unless there is access to a refrigerator. Then later on in the letter, she says that she thinks this is an older recipe that maybe came from the 1950s that has been forgotten by people. So today we are going to make Donna's champagne cake. Let's talk about, I'm going to lay the recipe right there just so I can refer to it if I need to. But let's talk about what we're going to use to make champagne cake. We're going to start with a yellow cake. Now, in her direction, she said you can use a boxed cake mix or you can make a homemade cake. Either one works. So, I'm going to use a boxed cake mix for a very simple reason. I want to show everyone that there's nothing wrong with using a boxed cake mix, and I want to show you what you can do to make it taste homemade. On the back of the box, you will find the directions for how to make the cake. Normally, a cake mix will tell you to put water, eggs, and oil in the cake mix. This one happens to say butter instead of oil, which is really good. But if you have a box that says to put oil, you should switch it out for an equal amount of butter. Also, whatever water it calls for in the cake mix, you should switch out for whole milk. And however many eggs it tells you to put in, you should put 1 extra. Now this box says to put 3, so instead we're putting 4. So switch the water to milk, add 1 extra egg, and if it calls for oil, switch that to butter. So that's going to be the first step in making our champagne cake. We're going to literally make the cake just the way it says on the box, but switching out those ingredients. We will bake it, let it cool completely before we go on with the rest of the directions. But let's go ahead and talk about what you're going to need later after the cake cools. You're going to need 1 8-ounce block of cream cheese, and that needs to be softened at least to room temperature. It needs to be spreadable because you're going to spread this on top of your cake. You're not going to mix it with anything else. It literally just gets spread right on top of the cake. I'm going to tell you that I've never heard of that. I have never seen a cake recipe where you just spread the cream cheese right on top. So I'm anxious to try this. I think this sounds really good. Then you're going to need a box of vanilla instant pudding. And you're going to make that vanilla instant pudding just the way it tells you on the box. Then you're going to need a 20-ounce can of crushed pineapple and you're going to drain that. You want it drained completely because you're going to put that pineapple right on top. We're going to make layers on the cake. We're going to spread the cream cheese. We're going to put a layer of pudding. Then we're going to put a layer of crushed pineapple. On top of the crushed pineapple, we're going to put half a cup of chopped pecans, and we'll just sprinkle those on. And on top of the pecans, we're going to sprinkle some sweetened flaked coconut. Now, Donna's recipe says if you don't like coconut, you can leave it out completely. You don't have to use it at all if you don't like it. And the last thing you need is some maraschino cherries. Donna's recipe said to get a small jar and you wouldn't even use them all. I couldn't find a small jar. All we could find at Walmart was this, I would call it a medium-sized jar of cherries. So we're going to use what we need. The rest of them we'll save for something else. I have to back up because I forgot one thing for the cake. Melissa, give me a second. We are going to add just a little bit of vanilla to our cake to make it taste homemade. Remember, we switched the water for milk, add an extra egg, switched out the oil for butter, and we're going to add about a teaspoon of vanilla in a vanilla cake. You don't have to do that, but it will help it taste more like homemade. Okay, so let's get started making our cake. All we have to do is, and we are going to use a mixer, but you don't even have to do that. You can just put this all in a bowl and stir it together. Melissa, I'm going to grab a pair of scissors here. Excuse me, sorry about that. You can just use a bowl and a big spoon or a whisk and stir that together. So we're going to move over to our mixer, and we're just going to put all the cake ingredients in together. There's our cake mix. We're going to add our milk. Remember, that's in place of the water. And our butter. And that's in place of the oil if your recipe calls for oil. Let me scrape all that out of there. That butter is flavor, so we want it all. Okay. Into the sink with the dirty bowl. And our eggs and vanilla. So I'm just going to do a capful of vanilla. Remember, we've talked about this before. Your cap is 1 teaspoon. So you can always use it if you need just a teaspoon. You can measure it with that cap and not dirty up something. And then we're going to add our eggs. And I'm going to crack these one at a time. We'll move this back a little bit so you can see. I'm going to crack them into the bowl before I add them to my cake. You say, why would you do that? Why would you dirty a bowl? Well, number one, you could get a piece of eggshell in your egg, and then you would need to fish that out before you put it in.
Piece of eggshell in your...
In the egg.
Yeah. Okay.
Before you add it in. So you'd have to fish that out if you did that. Number two, you could get a bad egg. No, not every egg is perfect. And if you get one that's cloudy or has a smell to it, then you don't want to use that. So you want to crack them one at a time into a bowl and add them in just to make sure they're good before you mix up your eggs into your cake batter. Okay, I'm going to add our beater. And I'm going to put our shield on and lower that, lock it into place, and turn it on low to start. Now, I have already preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and we have already greased and floured our 9x13 baking pan. And you can fix your pan so that it's non-stick however you want to. I started with a non-stick pan, but I still went ahead and buttered it and then put all-purpose flour in it and covered the inside, shook it around, made sure all that butter had flour clinging to it, because I want to give this cake every chance in the world to, I'm going to turn this up a little bit, I'm going to give it every chance in the world not to stick. Now, this says to let your cake run. Let me check this to make sure. And I believe it says to let it beat for 4 minutes. Yes. Beat the cake mix for 4 minutes. So I'm going to turn it up to medium. And we're going to let it sit there and run for 4 minutes. It's beating air into it. That's what's happening. It's making it fluffy and light. So give it 4 minutes, and then we'll come back and put it in our pan and put it in the oven and bake our cake. We'll be right back. All right, our cake has been beating for 4 minutes. It has definitely changed consistency, the texture, and it has changed how thick it is. Look at that. Look how thick it is now. So you definitely want to do the 4 minutes of beating. Now, while I'm scraping this off, let me tell you that while that cake was mixing, I could hear Donna yelling at me from Michigan. And what she was saying was, "You forgot the Cool Whip." So, I have put the Cool Whip out over there. We also need a tub of Cool Whip. Now, hers said a medium container of Cool Whip, and all I could find were 8-ounce and 16-ounce containers. So I got the big one. I got the 16-ounce. I'd rather have a little left over than not have enough. So that's a 16-ounce, but Donna's directions do say a medium container of Cool Whip.
So it's going to go between the Jell-O pudding and the pecans.
That's right. We're just going to make layers, and it goes right after the pineapple. Right, Melissa?
The pineapple. I said pudding.
You said pudding.
I'm sorry. We're going to have people really confused. I apologize. Please pay attention to please pay attention to the construction at the end of the video.
And the written recipe. Okay. And Donna, I do apologize for leaving that out. And I couldn't really hear you yelling at me, but... Okay. So we're going to put our cake in our cake pan. And just get that kind of smoothed out the best we can. Doesn't have to be perfect. It will kind of self-level during the baking process, but you know, we want to help it a little bit. We don't want a big glob on one end and none on the other. Okay, let me get this out. Okay. Oop, there's some around the top. Don't want to miss that. That was a lot. Okay, so we're just going to spread this out a little bit. You don't want to play with it too much because you don't want that air out of there that you just beat into it. So don't play around with it too much. Just try to level it the best you can. Get it all in there. My fingers are clean. I promise you, I've washed them and washed them.
And don't shake the pan, right?
Don't shake the pan. No reason to do that. Okay. And yes, babe, I left a little bit in there for you. Okay, so this goes in. The directions on our cake box said 26 to 31 minutes at 350. So I'm probably going to start checking it at about 24, 25 minutes. Our oven bakes just a little hot, but we will check it with a knife or a toothpick in the middle to make sure that it's done. If you put a toothpick or a knife in and it comes out with gooey cake batter on it, you know it's not done yet, so let it keep baking. But when we get one to come out clean, we'll know it's done. We'll take it out. We're going to cool it completely before we come back and finish the cake. But we'll be back as soon as the cake is cooled. Our yellow cake has completely cooled, so we're ready to finish the directions for Donna's cake. Now, she tells us the next thing we're to do is to spread cream cheese on top of it. And she said to make sure you stir it so that it's spreadable. Well, I did. I left my cream cheese out for a couple of hours. I put it in the bowl and stirred it, and it was still pretty stiff. So I stuck it in the microwave for about, I think it was 8 seconds, 8 to 10 seconds. And I think it is perfect spreading consistency. So I'm going to put it on our cake and spread that out. And I'm just going to kind of dollop it around the cake. I've gotten it as smooth as I possibly could. Let me scrape this off the spoon, and then we'll scrape our bowl. Okay, got everything off the spoon. Let's get it off the bowl now. And I think I just got some on my hand. Okay, so we have our cream cheese on there. And I'm going to use an offset spatula to try to spread this. Might make it just a little easier. And I would think this is going to have to be a fairly thin layer of cream cheese to be able to get some on the whole cake. So let's see what I can do here. This is a brand new recipe for me. I've never seen a cake like this, but I'm telling you, it sounds like it's going to be delicious. So our cream cheese is spreading really well. I think microwaving it for just a few seconds really helped loosen it up. It's not melted by any means, but it is thin enough that it's spreadable. So let's get all that off there. We want to make sure we use every bit of it. There's some still in the bowl. Let's get that. Okay. Spread that over here a little bit. This is a little thin, so we want to get it over to the edge. Okay, so we have our cream cheese on. Let's get that last little bit right there.
Okay, it's kind of bugging me that you're not all the way to the edges. I'm sorry.
I know, but I don't want to get it down in there.
Okay.
Let me see if I can make my wife happy here.
It's just a little thing, but...
Okay, I'm trying. I didn't realize she was so particular.
Well.
It's all right. Is that better, babe?
That looks better, yes.
Okay. Now, the next layer is our vanilla pudding. So we're going to put a little bit of it on here, and we'll just kind of...
It's kind of looks the opposite, like you've got way more than you need.
Yeah, well, and I'm probably not going to use all this. Because her directions say spoon a layer of pudding on top of cream cheese. It does not say to use it all. And I'll tell you what I told Melissa before we started. You want to tell her or you want me to?
That if you had leftover, you'd just eat it later?
I said, I don't intend to use all this on this cake because I'm hoping to have some for later. Let's try to do it with our spoon. And I'll try to go to the edges.
Thank you. Cover up all the whites, I'll ask.
Okay. See, if I hadn't gone so close to the edge with the cream cheese, I wouldn't have to be so particular with this, would I?
See, now I can still see pieces of cake underneath it. Just saying.
Oh, my. Okay. That's a little thin right there. Okay, so we have, let's get just a little more pudding right there. You know, I probably should go to the edge of the pan with the pudding because there's nothing else. Well, yeah, you've got the Cool Whip. Yeah, that's okay. Let's just go to the edge. And I would think the liquid from the pudding and the Cool Whip is going to make your cake really moist too. Wouldn't you think?
I would think this will be a super moist, yes, for sure. And especially since you doctored up the cake to start with.
Well, that's true. By putting the milk and the extra egg, and, yeah, that should really help. Okay, so our next layer is pineapple. Now, I did squeeze the juice out of the pineapple. It did say to drain it. And I want you to look how much juice came out of a 20-ounce can. It did say to drain the pineapple, and I drained it as much as I could because you really don't want that liquid off the pineapple on there, or it could make your cake really runny. So it just says to sprinkle the crushed pineapple over the pudding layer. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to sprinkle it over. It's not going to cover it by any means. But every piece of cake should have some pineapple on it. This has to be a good cake because everything that's on it or in it is delicious. So this has to be a really good recipe. You know what? I am going to use all this pineapple just because I think the more pineapple, the better, right?
I love pineapple. I think it'll be really good on this.
We do love pineapple. So I'm just going to put it on there. Keep sprinkling. It almost has the feel of like a Hawaiian cake or something. Coconut and pineapple and nuts. Don't you think?
I think so. I think it's great for this time of the year too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now, I'll tell you what I am going to do. I am going to kind of push it down in there because we're going in with Cool Whip next. And so you want it kind of smooth to be able to spread that Cool Whip on there. And this cake rose so well in the oven that it's really above the edge of the pan. All right, I'm going to wash my hands real quick. Now, it's time for Cool Whip. Cool Whip goes on top of your pineapple. Just going to do some dollops. That way, maybe we won't mess up the pineapple and pudding layer quite so much. Donna, I hope I'm doing this correctly. All right.
This was almost the layer we forgot earlier.
Yeah, but we didn't. You reminded me. I'm trying not to spread it. I'm trying to just kind of push it into place so we don't mess up that pineapple and pudding layer. I have to turn my bowl a little, or my pan a little bit here so I can get in there. Once I get it on there, then maybe I can kind of smooth the top down a little bit. Give me a little bit right there. Okay. It looks like we're about halfway there with the Cool Whip. I think this is going to be really pretty once it's cut too, with all these layers. Now, Donna's recipe does say that it needs to chill for 1 hour after you get everything layered.
And I can definitely see why it would not do well outside.
Yes. Yeah, this would not do well at a
Picnic.
July 4th picnic. Not with the pudding and the Cool Whip.
You have to be able to keep it refrigerated.
Yeah. And now that I've put the Cool Whip on there, I really think, I don't know, I'm not sure an 8-ounce box would be enough. I think we've used more than half of that.
I would give it definitely.
I've-
I mean, you
I've
could
got
make
it
it work
thick.
with an 8-ounce.
Yeah.
You do, but you could make it work.
Yeah, you could. It's on here thick, so you could probably make it work with an 8-ounce. Okay, so let's get that all smoothed down. Put that right there. All right. Next is our layer of pecans. Probably my favorite part. I do love pecans. I'm going to scoop this back just in case I miss and one rolls off. I won't be picking them up off the floor tonight. And you know what? And there went one that I missed. Half a cup's a lot. There's going to be a lot of nuts on here. I love that. Okay. So, there are the nuts. 2 more. Time for the coconut. Put the lime in the coconut.
I was singing that in my head.
I can't believe I just sang on camera. I know better than that. Now, she didn't say how much coconut. She just said sprinkle some is that what it says, sprinkle? Sprinkle a nice layer of coconut on top. So, I'm just going to sprinkle some. I'm not going to make it real heavy. I'm just going to kind of let it snow on there. A little bit. Oh my goodness, this looks wonderful. And so decadent. Honey, who are we going to take this to? We can't eat this.
We cannot eat all this. So somebody's going to be the lucky person, recipient of a nice cake tonight. Minus the piece that we sample and take a picture of.
Just one? Only get one piece?
I think that's going to be all we need.
And
because it's going to be really temptation.
The last thing is cherries that have maraschino cherries that have been cut in half. And I think I'm just going to put 3 across and about 6 down. And if you cut them so you get 1 cherry in each piece, that would be about 18 pieces. So I'm just putting them on there and pushing them down in. Oh my goodness, is this a beautiful cake or what? My goodness. Donna, I haven't tasted it yet. But unless my eyes are deceiving me, this is a great cake. I got that one off a little bit. Sorry about that. Gotta move that. I don't know how I did that. Okay. Wow. What a cake. That's beautiful. We're going into the refrigerator for 1 hour. After it has set in the refrigerator for 1 hour, we will come back and, you know, if I have to, I'll cut a piece and eat it.
I can tell it's going to be a great sacrifice for you.
I'll take one for the team. We'll be back as soon as this is chilled. We just want to remind you that this is Sunday number 4 in our Subscriber Sunday series. Every Sunday for a while, we're hoping to do a recipe that is sent in from a subscriber for us to try. And this is week number 4. So if you have recipes that are tried and true, that your family absolutely loves, that something that everybody knows you for, something that is the best recipe you've ever made, we would love to get a copy of that along with your name and address so that we can give you credit for it. And we may just use your recipe on Come Sit at My Table. Now, look at this. The cake has been refrigerated for an hour. And I'm going to tell you, this is one beautiful cake. I haven't tasted it yet, but I'm going to tell you, on looks, it's a 10 out of 10. It really is an absolutely gorgeous cake. You can see all the different layers. It smells wonderful. Babe, you going to take the first bite?
Sure. Love a first bite.
It's a big bite. This is a thick cake. Oh, she had no trouble with that. She didn't. You're not saying anything.
That's very good. It's perfect for this time of the year, spring of the year. that's so good.
Oh, my. It's called champagne cake. And there's no champagne in it. But that's a good name for it. This is a fancy cake. And it's decadent. Wow, that's good. Oh, my.
That has to be relocated very quickly tonight.
That cannot spend the night in this house.
Nope, it's got to go somewhere.
Because when I wake up at 2 o'clock, I'll be in here eating some of it. Donna Banks, thank you so much for this recipe. Man, that's good. I'm going to tell you, if you don't try this cake, you're missing out. That's fabulous. You know, that would be really good in the summer. That's refreshing. It's pineapple and coconut, and it's got a little bit of a tropical taste to it. That's fabulous. I could eat that every day. Yeah, that has to go somewhere tonight. Thanks, Donna. That's a winner. Folks, we do appreciate you watching our videos, especially this one. That's unbelievable. If you would, go right below the video and just click that thumbs up. Just says you like the video. It tells YouTube people liked it and that they should share it more. If you've not already, please click that subscribe button and the little notification bell next to it and the word all, and you'll be subscribed to our channel and you can get notified every time we put a video on. Also, right below this video, you will see the title of this cake. It'll say champagne cake. If you'll click that title or somewhere in that box will expand. Melissa always puts the written recipe right there for you. We have people on every video that say, where do I find the written recipe? All you have to do is click on the title. Just go right under this video, click on the title, that box will open, and you'll find the written recipe right there. Our contact information is right under the written recipe. And of course, there are comments below that. There's a place for you to comment below that, and we welcome your comments. In fact, today, while we've been waiting for this cake to cool and for it to set up after we put it all together, Melissa has been answering comments online, and she's read some to me. We've really enjoyed those today. We've had some that we've laughed at, some that maybe we've teared up a little bit, but we always enjoy reading your recipe or your comments. Thank you so much for that. All right. Most of all, we want you to remember that you are always welcome to come sit at my table. Have a great day, and cheers.